offer 4 accounts of Jesus' time on earth. What's noteworthy is that each of these books seem to be written in complete independence of one another.
What? No, bitch. They were definitely not written independently. No. Basically, and this is going to be kind of a summary of the current consensus in the scholarship, right, about this. This would include biblical scholars that are religious and non-religious. Just everybody agrees. Mark was the first gospel and actually the only independent gospel. Matthew copied from Mark. Luke copied from both Mark and Matthew. And then John copied from all 3 of them motherfuckers. So really, out of the 4 gospels, you have one gospel message. That's the only one. The rest of them were copies off of Mark that changed shit and pushed different things because they wanted to teach different things. All you have is Mark. That's the original gospel. That's the one that was written first. Deal with it.
They speak from various points of view, and it's just not what you expect to find from 4 different accounts. Like, if you and I were going to do a coordinated collaboration and we wanted it to be believable, but it's still a made-up story, wouldn't we sit down and go over exactly what we would say to ensure that it was consistent? It's just not what we find in the Gospels.
How is that not what we find in the Gospel? True, the people that literally wrote the Gospels did not sit down with each other and try to figure out how to make this shit work. One person wrote it in the 70s, Mark, and then 10 years later, you have another fuck who got a hold of Mark's Gospel and was like, this is bullshit. I hate every fucking thing in this motherfucker. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna make Jesus more magical. He's gonna do magical shit, and that's gonna be the end of it. That's how it happened. I know it. And then you got Luke, and after 93 AD, that was like, hey, those 2 motherfuckers are wrong. The story was much longer. And so he ended up writing Acts as well as his own personal version of the gospel message. And then you got John, who's like, all these motherfuckers weren't smoking the right weed. Oh, God, come, let's do this. And then he wrote his own gospel that refutes all of the other gospels because they were fucking delirious. He's got the right gospel, the Republican Jesus that don't give a fuck about y'all.
Some mention details that others leave out. One might tell the first part of the story, and the other might tell the second, and it all depends on the author's point of emphasis. It's what would happen if each of us just told the same story naturally.
No, it's not. Let's just take the finding the empty tomb. Mark has just one young man dressed in a white robe that's sitting in the tomb and tells them, don't be alarmed. You're looking for Jesus, but he's risen. He's not here. Go ahead into Galilee. There you will see him just as he told you. But then Jesus appears to him and says, hey, don't tell nobody, bitches, okay? Snitches get stitches, bitches. And then you've got Matthew, who's fucking comes in with an angel who fucking field goals the cover stone away and like lightning and everything, and is like, Jesus ain't here no more, bitches. Go tell everybody, motherfuckers. And then fucking flies away like a goddamn pterodactyl. And then Luke just has 2 naked boys inside the tomb that probably got molested by Jesus. They're just like, he ain't here no more. And so they left. And then John, she just found the tomb empty. No, they're not consistent. Not just like us telling stories. If you were to compare this to us just telling the same story, like at a crime scene or wherever in the fuck J. Warner Wallace wants to envision, but if you want to envision it, one person would say, oh, dude over there just conjured a pistol in his hand and then shot the other dude. The next guy says, oh, well, you're not going to believe this shit, officer. So basically an angel came down like a fucking pterodactyl and dropped off a semi-automatic machine gun to the dude. And then he picked it up like fucking Rambo and went and just obliterated the guy. Luke would be like, listen, these 2 strange as fuck, like the shining looking little bitches came up, gave the dude 2 guns, and then he just blasted the motherfucker to hell. And then the John's gospel would just be like, yo, I just walked up, he had a gun, the dude was dead. I mean, these are radically different, right? These are radically different stories.
So Matthew is speaking to a Jewish audience, and he wants to convey Jesus as the king and predicted deliverer. Luke gives us a history lesson and shows Jesus' human side. John's focus is evangelism. Mark stresses Jesus as a servant who suffers for the good of others. Together, they give us a fuller picture.
None of that is true. Each gospel redacted Mark's gospel and the previous gospels in order to tell the stories that they wanted. Now, she said that Luke told it from a historical perspective, when in fact, Luke took his influences from like Josephus, from Odysseus, Odyssey, rather. I mean, he took his influence from all of these other different historical scholars at the time, historians. To act like these people were just telling the same story in different ways is really fucking ridiculous when you actually consider the differences between the different stories. Well, yeah, so Casey brought up a good point. In case you didn't hear, how similar they are even in words, because there are verbatim copies of Mark in both Matthew and Luke. You also have to consider the verbatim copies of words.
Let's talk about the misfit heroes of the Bible. Now, if I were going to write the Bible, I might have conveniently left out that Moses committed murder, or that David killed a man because David got his wife pregnant, or maybe that Paul relentlessly persecuted Christians. But these and hundreds of other sins and details and stories did not get left out. There they sit in print for us to read thousands of years later.
Yes, for a purpose. That purpose being showing that humanity is flawed, humanity is fucked up. God is perfect. You need God because you're fucked up. You make bad decisions. You're a dumbass. Suck God dick. That's the reason why it's in there. That's the reason why in the Gospels, the disciples are dipshits. They were representation of the 12 tribes of Israel. They were dumbasses. They didn't get Jesus' message because they're dumbasses and dipshits, and that's what the Bible wanted to tell you, is that humanity, God's chosen people, are dumb as fuck. That is the point it was trying to drive home. The original authors wanted to make the people that would believe in this feel like dumbasses. Why would they leave out a crucial point in what they were trying to teach people? This is basically the embarrassment criteria, which is primarily only used in biblical studies, by the way. They literally have to use their own special criteria in order to prove their points. That should set off a red flag in the old cranium there. Embarrassment criteria is the weakest kind of evidence that you could ever provide for establishing anything as truthful or as actually happening in history.